Hello, stranger. Let's talk about PulseChain launch strategy. Have you thought about your launch strategy? Think about it. If you haven't, good. Because most likely you're going to succeed. All you got to do is do nothing. Okay? So if you have not thought about it and you have no strategy, yes, that's actually a good thing. So now the next step is to do nothing. Don't stress yourself out. You're not going to get a lot of people handing money in the God trade, okay? Most big players are going to sit down and do nothing. I've traded many markets. I've traded through auctions, every FOMC, non-farm payrolls, huge key events. Big players with liquidity pull everything. They do not come in and just rush in and go, oh, here, take my free money so I can be wrong. Okay, they let the market settle. So you're just going to have to simply sit on your hands, stake and earn yield, which is great. And you should be calmed by the thought that the crypto industry will grow throughout 2024 and 2025. You can't actually change your fate by this launch. This launch will do nothing for you except confirm that you're not a crazy person like those people who say it's never going to launch, okay? That's all it's basically going to do, okay? So this video is for you because we're going to go through some juicy strategy details that I know what the crowd is thinking. And look, I'm going to be honest, friends. I love you all, but I'm telling you what I'm about to tell you for one reason, okay? And that reason is I have tried all my life to try to get paper hands to stop being soy drinker paper hands. No amount of words coming out of my mouth can stop it. Human emotion is way more powerful than anything I can ever say. Eventually, the words I say out of my mouth, they lose their effectiveness, just like a drug. Okay, yeah, maybe I can G you up for like a week, a month, but then everybody reverts back to their default state. And a lot of people will just paper hand out. Now you're saying paper hand out of what? Well, I have a very nice selection of coins here that we're going to talk about. So let's go through. I already know, by the way, I have 100% confidence that nothing I say is actually going to impact what everyone's thinking. Because I've spoken to some smarty pants and I've told them a couple of my ideas and they've been like, that's never happening, doo-doo face. And I'm like, okay, sweet. But because the smarty pants people have said this to me, I'm like, all right, so pretty much everybody's convinced of whatever they think is going to happen. So let's continue. You're going to have HEX on Pulse, HEX on ETH, PLSX, and PLS, okay? So sometimes, this isn't the correct terminology, but sometimes we'll call this eHEX, and sometimes we'll call this pHEX, right? It's not meant to be that, right? eHEX means it came from Ethereum, so that's bridged over, but, okay, I've got the nice graphic for you, so we're going to go through it. So let's go through what the Dingleberries, the haters, what they're going to do. Now, a Dingleberry is a short-term tourist, non-believer, non-friend. And a Dingleberry is going to think that they've got the trade of their life, which is, buy HEX here. And as soon as PulseChain launches, as soon as they've got confirmation there's a snapshot, to dump it. Okay? That's what the Dingleberries think. I think, this is just me, if I was a benevolent dictator, okay, this is what I will do. Just letting you guys know, okay? I don't know if this is going to happen, but get ready. I would, right before the snapshot, I would crush the HEX price down, okay? You see this? Let's say it was actually launching right now. I would actually crush it down 50%. I would, before the launch. And you'd be like, why? I'll tell you why. When we do this video, you'll see why. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's what I will do. I'm just letting you know. If I was the dictator of this chain and I wanted to protect the believers to give us the maximum price pump and activity growth and network effect, I would destroy the short-termers with smashing down the price before for the snapshot because it absolutely destroys the people who only bought for the snapshot. Okay, that's what I will do. I don't know if that's going to happen, okay? So be prepared for that. That's what I'm saying. Be prepared. We might see that. You never know, right? We never know. It's, you know, I mean, like, this is what I would do personally. Just so you know, I would, like, sell it down, get the weekends out. Let's say it actually went down like 50%. You get the weekends out, and then maybe a few weeks or a month after launch, when it settles, I would then bond the liquidity of eHEX and pHEX. Maybe I would even buy eHEX back up and then do it, okay? This is what I would do. So this is my La La Land. I'm just telling you what I would do. It'll be funny if it happens. But I'm now going to go and show you what the crowd is thinking. Because even though I've got an idea of what things might happen, some crazy stuff, I am irrelevant. I am, you know exactly what time it is. I'm a peanut brain, all right? We're just little peanut brains. We are not relevant. We think we're relevant, but we're really not, okay? What matters in markets is what the crowd expects, okay? What do the Dingleberries expect next? That's what we're going to think about. So I know I've spoken to everybody, listened to heaps of podcasts, videos, Twitter. I've done field research. I already know this is what everyone's thinking, okay? Everyone thinks that HEX on Ethereum is a Poopie. In fact, double Poopie. Okay, that's what they're all thinking right now. Okay, I'm gonna have to make this font a bit bigger. So that's what everyone's thinking. Okay, so they want to sell HEX on Ethereum. This is what the crowd thinks. This is not me. So let's clarify this so you know. The crowd expects this. All right, the crowd. Actually, I'm gonna have to write the Dingleberry crowd because this is what we're going for. All right, so the Dingleberry crowd expects HEX on Ethereum to be a double Poopie, and they're like, oh, no one's ever gonna buy it again. Probably gonna sell it. Okay. The short-termers and the non-believer long-termers as well. So you have, that's why it's a double Poopie emoji. So you have the short-termers for the snapshot. They're thinking they're gonna sell it and get a free snapshot, right? And then you also have the people who are still in HEX and PulseChain. They're like, oh, Ethereum's gas fees are gonna go up forever. We gotta leave. We're going to sell this. Go, yeah, that's true, but you shouldn't be doing that. So we'll continue. So, but what's going to get the rocket emojis now? So before we go to the rocket emoji, there's another Poopie. PLSX. Okay. We're going to get one Poopie emoji here. This is going to be people who wanted PulseChain for whatever reason. Like, it's just funny, friends. Like, most people don't even know why crypto goes up. Like, they think they want PulseChain. You know why? I want to show you this right. You just have to see this, okay? The reason why most people want PulseChain, this is CoinGecko. It's because most coins on the front page, they are layer 1 chains, okay? I'm just going to show you right now. They are layer 1 chains, okay? You have Ethereum, you've got your Binance, you got your Cardano, you know what I mean? You got your Polygon, you got your this scam coin, you know, you got your Solana, you got your Polkadot, you get the point, right? All layer 1 chains, okay? This is where Uniswap come. Uniswap is rank 20. This is Uniswap. So that's what people in their mind are thinking. And look, Uniswap's market cap is only 4.7 billion and the rest are higher. So that's what everyone's thinking in their mind. I know this in the back of their mind. That's what they feel like, oh, okay, well, PulseChain should be more because it's layer 1. This presents fantastic opportunity for us. That means we're still early to crypto because people think the layer 1 chain has to have all the value. But what they don't know is that you can make applications that can blow layer 1s to pieces. But we're still early. We're not there yet, okay? So this is optimistic, okay? There's double thumbs up. So now you understand the reasoning why everyone thinks PLSX is going to be a Poopie. I don't think it's going to be a Poopie at all, okay? But people do. So we'll let them stay there. So what are they going to give the double rocket emojis to? Everybody wants PLS. Okay? Everybody wants this. I'm going to give 2 rocket emojis here. I have friends and acquaintances and anonymous people, Discord, Telegram, who tell me, yes, Richard Hart is a scammer, HEX is a Ponzi scheme. But I like PulseChain, okay? That's what they tell me. And I thought they were trolling me, but now I've heard it from a couple of people, and it's been like 6 months. I'm like, oh my God, they're actually serious. They're like, I hate Richard Hart and his Louis Vuitton, but I like PulseChain. And you know, it's funny, they don't actually say they like PulseChain. They'll use other words, just interesting about psychology. They'll say, I'm waiting for it. Or they'll say, yeah, it's legit, but Hex is a scam, okay? So they use different terminology. It's kind of like they're brainwashed. I know deep down they're brainwashed already, and they're just one step to just buying Hex, but they just need that little push. They need that little push. It's like they don't want anybody watching them. They don't want anyone asking. It's funny, friends. By the way, so many of these people, they're spending like 15 hours a day reading these white papers of this new, curve stablecoin. Oh, we're going to do this and do that. No one cares. No one cares. Look what they're wasting their time, man. Look where they're wasting their time. So we know PulseChain has a lot of hype. Double rocket emoji. I think Hex on Pulse will have one rocket emoji. So this is what the crowd thinks. Okay? This is what the crowd thinks. The crowd double hates eHEX, so Hex on Ethereum, right? Now they also hate PLSX. They're gonna love PLS, and they're gonna kind of love Hex on Pulse. Okay, so how do we match this up? We're gonna try and guess the flows here. Now we can't do leverage, and even if we could, I would not want you to do this. So because PLS is gonna have a lot of hype, I still am not gonna sell. Okay, I am not going to sell PLS into fiat. I don't care if it's up like 3x, 4x, 5x, 8x, 9x, 10x, okay? Maybe 10x on the open. Actually, but I don't even know. This is like, you're playing with a lot of fire, friends. You are, I'm telling you now, like you waited this long and you want to get out before Bitcoin's 100K, Ethereum's 10K, right? You shouldn't be playing with fire like that. So I don't think you should get in short. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for the Poopie flow, because weak hands are going to be getting out. And I know, you know too, the crowd is wrong. The weak crowd, the short-term Dingleberries, the Poopie heads, who are very short-term sighted, they usually get things wrong. And you know what? Even if they get it right in like the long term, what happens is they will sell something too low, too fast. So yeah, maybe this asset never goes up here, but they sell it so low that even this point back here is still like a 7x, you know? Maybe its fair value was supposed to be 60% lower, but the Poopie head Dingleberries sell at 95% lower. Okay, so you can still get a 7x buying this. I hope this kind of makes sense. So if something was worth $100, instead of selling it to $40, they'll sell it down to $5, okay? That's just the weak hands. And you can still buy that $5, get it out at 40. 5 to 40 is an 8x, right? I hope this is making sense. So that's the principle behind it, okay? So the flows here, what's going to be the weak hand flows? Well, you have, sirs, and now I've quickly put up these ratios for you, right? We can see that you're going to have eHEX, PLS, is probably going to be down. We're going to get this down emoji, okay? So people are probably going to be destroying eHEX. What's going to happen? They're probably also going to be destroying PLS. So we have it down. Okay, so we have down, down. Right, and what they're going to do is, obviously, the other two are going to go up. So, obviously, what I want to do here, I just want to filter for you what the weak hand flow is probably going to do. So, we're trying to find cheap, right? You want to find something where, okay, where have weak hands concentrated themselves in? Where are they going to sell just for the sake of selling? Because they've made an assumption that, you know, does it have to come true? Let's explore, right? So, firstly, people are going to get rid of PLSX as well, just because they want that PLS, okay? Now, we understand the buy and burn mechanics, and you're going to have to take a risk with this, which is we are, and we already believe, right? And the risk is that volume doesn't ever pick up on PulseX, okay? That's the risk, that the activity on the chain never picks up. Now, if we are right and it does pick up, we're going to make an absolute killing. And that's how it should be, right? We take the risk, we are going to get the reward. And people who don't understand it, the flow of money is going to just go to here, right? It's going to go from here to here. And that's what the weak hands are going to do. So we can also look at the eHEX part, okay? eHEX, after the snapshot, people immediately, they're probably going to get out, okay? eHEX, who knows where they're going to go to? Probably straight just fiat, give me back my free money, whatever. They're going to try abuse it, okay? So wouldn't it be nice if, remember my first example, wouldn't it be nice if a benevolent dictator, right before the snapshot, sold eHEX on their faces by minus 50%? Wouldn't it be great, you know? Because what this person will do, let's say there's 8 million in the pool on the bids. Wouldn't it be great if a benevolent dictator sells, right? Sells, let's get this PulseChain thing up. Yeah. So he sells it down. The snapshot happens here. And then people, weak hands, sell it again because they don't know what they're doing. Wouldn't it be amazing? That would present an opportunity for us. Because if they do that, then you sit here with me and going like, okay, I understand the assumption that eHEX is going to zero because it should be worth zero according to these Dingleberries. But what if they're wrong? What if eHEX shouldn't be at 1 penny, 1 cent, 1.5 cents? What if there's a future for it? So this is where, you hear that? Licking the lips, friends. This is where you licking the lips, and this is a tick of friendship because that's probably a great entry. Okay, so what we would be doing is, if there's a double capitulation prophecy and mine comes true, so the benevolent dictator sells first, then the snapshot happens, and then everyone books giant losses, because wouldn't it be beautiful? The believers like us, you get to buy. Now, you might say to me, hey man, I don't have any fiat on the sidelines, and I'll say, join the club. That's okay. We're already deployed into HEX, right? But it's possible, because this is so low, that you have your pHEX. So you're going to let the bridge open up, and you're going to let the ratio set, and maybe after in that week of the mania, after the bridge opens, after 48 hours or whatever, maybe your pHEX has the value, and you might say, hey man, I think eHEX is undervalued. So an option you have is you can say okay, I'm going to take the next 2 years of yield. That's what I'll just give you an example of, right? So let's say you had 100,000 hex, pHEX, you had 100,000 pHEX, right? It's earning you like 9% yield per year. So you get, this is short-term yield, right? 9,000 per year. You might say, hey man, I am willing to take the next 2 years yield, front run it to myself and take 18,000, and you might go swap 18,000 pHEX back to eHEX, okay? That's a strategy you have, okay? And then you're just doing short-term stakes to get it back. Now, obviously, to make the most amount of money, you do the long-term stakes, but this is a way to participate. You have edge. You might see, oh my God, there's some big weak hands and they've just capitulated and I want to just scoop this stuff. And you don't have to be too dangerous with this. This is just taking the next 2 years of yield, all right? So you're not destroying your bag, right? And if it works, I mean, who knows what the ratio might be? I mean, we might have it might be a quarter of pHEX. So you might have eHEX equal to 1/4 of pHEX, which means if it catches up, you basically make more yield on the way up. It's one way to participate if the weak hands play this, okay? So this is the first thing we're watching, okay? You're watching, will people overly sell eHEX? And that's a risk, you tell me, hey, if you genuinely believe in your heart that eHEX is going to zero, then okay, I can't help you with that. That's just, I'm just thinking to myself, there's a chance you might be wrong. I'm just saying, there's just a chance, What chance would you give it going to zero? It's not going to be 100%, If you say, oh, there's a 90% chance, I go, well, why don't you use 3 months of yield, right? Why don't you put if you have 100,000 hex in your portfolio, why don't you use 2,500 hex? It's worth the punt, man. It's worth to participate. It's better you stay in this ecosystem that you understand than going to do this leverage trading crap, right? It's way better to do this. You can't really harm yourself if you're buying blood in these spot situations, okay? Now, it doesn't mean you're immune. You just have better odds. Okay, so that's the big one, okay? The big easy one is, we all know everybody wants to sell eHEX. And what's the next one? Well, you know, one Poopie is the PLSX, the PulseX. So we already know people want PulseChain, whatever. So they might give away PLSX, PulseX for too cheap relative to Pulse. So, but this is where it gets tricky. You might say, okay, what's too cheap, man? And friends, it's hard to say this because if you go to CoinGecko, Uniswap is such a tiny percentage of Ethereum, okay? And so are the dexes of other chains that it's very hard to give you a proper ratio here, you know? I mean, I'm guessing 4 PulseX to 1 PLS, 4 to 1, but what if it goes 10? It's too hard, and I think it's irresponsible to even really try gamble on it. You know why? Because it feels like Richard's timing the launch and we got the bull market ahead. So risk is only going to be increasing in appetite for everyone. So you want to own the DEX anyway. Do you get what I mean? I hope this makes sense, right? So because we're launching at, if I go quickly to the Bitcoin chart, okay, you know, look, this is where he launched HEX, okay? He launched HEX here. You understand, okay? So we had recovered up and then launched HEX, okay? And right, if you want some friendship credibility from me, I made this post like 6 to 7 months ago, okay? I marked a chart where HEX launched on the Bitcoin timeline. If we zoom in, right above this cute little sheepdog, look where I posted. Man, it was like, we're in the June, July. I was posting charts like this back then, like back in June, July, man, of 2022. And look where I was guessing where the recovery would be. It'd be somewhere from March to June of 2023. So, surprise, surprise. Look, coincidentally, I knew from June, I go, yeah, this thing's ain't launching this year. It's probably going to... Hope this kind of makes sense to you. Like, if I really had no idea what I was talking about, how would I drew this loopy arrow and able to fluke this, right? But you dig down, it's got nothing to do with the fluke. It's Richard Hart. He likes to do what works. And what worked with HEX is to wait for a confirmed bottom, the big fat red arrow here, wait for the confirmed bottom, and then you get people growing, net positive, adding to crypto, and on average, risk appetite will increase. You get the greatest chart, you get the greatest, everything gets painted perfectly, the numbers look great, everything is positive, positive, positive. You have a huge slingshot into the moon, okay? I just assumed, I didn't know, I just assumed he was going to repeat it again, okay? It's not, don't get angry, because I will do the same, okay? This is how... Friends, this is how leaders have to manipulate the people. And yes, we do get manipulated. It's marketing, it's grooming, it's brainwashing, it's whatever word it is, okay? You got to get the job done. That's it, okay? And I know, chances are, he's going to try and get the job done. We don't know with 100% certainty, but I think he's going to repeat it, okay? So, that's why PulseX, you probably want to hold it no matter what the ratio gets to. Unless it goes to really absurdly cheap. But we don't really know what that's going to be because like I mentioned at the very, very start of this video, man, the big liquidity, they're just going to sit on the hands. They're going to wait, see what happens, okay? So that could be your next potential buy, right? You might say, hey, PulseX was overly sold by the weak hands for Pulse, okay? So if I was to give the obvious one that everyone's going to sell, big fat tick for eHEX. And look, I know, by the way, there's so many people listening to this. They're like, no way I'm buying eHEX. No way, mate. You can keep that poop away from me. And I'll say, yeah, I'll take your poopy and I'll double up on it, sir. And I salute you for that. Thank you for the cheap eHEX, okay? So, I'll give this a smaller tick for PLSX because you're playing with ratios. We don't really know, you know. And I don't know how aggressive people are going to sell PulseX. Because, like I just showed you, if Richie's timing the launch, it's going to be... You're going to have so many positive things coming into Bitcoin and Ethereum, green monthly candles, that's going to make it less likely people absolutely capitulate PulseX to the level of eHEX. But we'll watch it anyway, okay? So, you've learned something now. The weakest hands, they are going to sell eHEX, yeah? And then the second weakest hands is PulseX. Go and speak to anyone. This is absolutely nothing new to anyone. Okay, so we kind of know now, right? I don't want to be buying Pulse. I think people are going to be buying it too aggressively at the start. And also pHEX, right? So what's the play here? Well, you know what to do. You wait for over capitulation. People who sell something too much. I think, this is just speculation, in this cute scenario, eHEX goes down, it goes down somewhere. Don't look at the price of these arrows, right? It's more of the like theme, okay? You know, the people don't win on a snapshot. People get screwed trying to game it. I think eventually when the dust settles, okay, so when everything is restored to a balance, you know what? I think there is a balance emoji. Here we go. So when everything is, looks like, I'm not going to say it. Okay, so, all right. When everything is restored to balance, I believe there's a chance that a benevolent dictator is going to provide liquidity, right? He, she, they, them, the African priest who lives in Spain, okay? I think because the OA owns all of the pHEX and eHEX, that as a sign of rewarding everyone who held through the turmoil, that liquidity will be bonded, okay? And you can set up a wall. You basically, it'll be a big fat thick wall. Like you can have literally a billion to a billion. A billion pHEX, a billion eHEX. So no matter how much you choose, and they'll be super thick, right? They'll be super thick. So actually look like this. Actually look like this. The ratios are set, and look, it'll just trade through here. And this number might be 1 or 0.98 to 1.02. That's it. It'll just trade up and down. And if you want to sell heaps of eHEX and move into pHEX, like look at this. There's a billion set up here, man. And it'll just easily come back up. And if you want to do it the other way, right? Hope this visualization is nice for you, right? So that's what I think is going to happen. But I don't think it's going to happen at the start. I think we're going to get tested, as always. One thing I know is the people who sit through the pain in this ecosystem around RH, you end up doing really, 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 really well, all right? So you got to think, if you're a dictator, you want to punish the short-term non-believers, and you want to give the value to the long-termers. I thought through all this. It might not play like this, of course, but we're just ready. We're ready. So if you had fiat today, I already said my preferred option is just to buy HEX right now. Don't even think about these games. Just sit on the sidelines and do nothing, okay? So if the unlikely event happens where people overly sell eHEX and then PulseChain launches, right, you can bridge a bit of your pHEX over to your eHEX, right? That's the big one. That's where you would get your money. Or if you had like money, DCA, wage, just straight buy eHEX, man. Buy it after the snapshot when no one wants it. But you're gonna have to, they're probably gonna sell it for like very, very cheap, right? Which I hope they do, because that'd be great, you know, because that's cheaper fast, right? And if you want to play that PLSX game, don't play with the ratios. Wait for it to settle and stop. And then we're gonna have to see what the market prices as a fair value range. It might be from like 4 to 1 to 8 to 1, you know, and that'll be the ratio of PLSX and PLS PulseChain, okay? So there's not too much to do in that regard, but you never know, man. People might overly sell it down, and you're going to have a big bull market ahead. So I've gone through these strategies. I know you've learned something. Please, if something here is too complicated, let me know. I will re-explain it. Until next time, friends, I love you all.